I have all these different identities, but they're not all equally spread apart at all times of my life, right? There are some times when mom is what's most salient for me. And I think what's challenging is feeling like everything needs to have equal weight at all times. I don't think that's possible. It wasn't possible for me. I don't think it's possible for most people.
Welcome to In Her Words. This podcast is for women navigating through change, career, identity, motherhood, and just figuring out what's next. I'm Roberta Dombrowski, host of In Her Words and founder of Learn Mindfully. Each episode, I sit down with women who are asking big questions, navigating transitions, and trying to make sense of life as it shifts. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need space to be real. Let's get into it. With me today is Dr. Kimberly Murray. She is a certified life and leadership coach, speaker, psychologist, and creative spirit who helps high-achieving, multi-passionate women lead lives that feel as good as they look on paper. Welcome, Dr. Murray. Excited to have you on In Her Words.
Thanks, Roberta. And Kimberly is just fine.
Okay, awesome. One thing I'm so excited to talk to you today, especially about your focus on multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate. You navigate so many identities. I was going through your profile and background before we met today. You're a psychologist, photographer, coach, leader, mom. I'm curious, how have you honored all of these diverse identities that you hold?
That is a great question. And I would say gingerly, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't always easy. I think that I've always kind of had a lot of different interests and passions from when I was a child up till now. And what I learned over time is that in order to fully embrace them, I couldn't have those different identities kind of sit side by side. There was a time when I tried to keep them siloed, right? Like I'm a photographer over here, I'm a scientist over there. And then I became so fragmented in my own thinking in terms of who I am and who I was. And so I felt like I had to hide the fact that I had a doctorate when I was in kind of the creative photography circles because I didn't want to feel like I wasn't serious about my creativity. And then in the more kind of academic or analytical, technical field, I felt like, okay, I can't show that I have this creative passion going on. And then it wasn't until I started thinking about having to integrate them, right? Not keep everything compartmentalized and really see like what is that through line that really cuts across all these different roles and identities, and that there is some kind of seamless transition between the different identities and roles, right? Like there's this analytical piece that runs through the photography in terms of how I kind of visualize the scene and set up the props that I was styling at the time that also kind of cuts through my coaching and helping clients be able to see patterns and to be able to kind of chart a path forward. And then certainly in my role as a strategic advisor. So there are ways that those different roles connect. And I had to see that there is a through line and that they're not these separate, distinct kind of entities and roles and things.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we dial in a little bit? Because I have a lot of clients, and I'm sure you do too, who have these diverse passions and maybe they're feeling pressure to kind of pick a lane. And I'm curious, what was that like for you? You talked a little bit about like photographer and then also balancing the academic side. Can you take us a little bit more through what that journey was like for you?
It was hard. It was a challenging journey. I'm still on it, to be honest,
Yeah.
especially because I would often, I think, seek permission and approval and validation from other people, right? So I would kind of run the idea by folks when I started thinking, oh, maybe I should want to just do the creative endeavor full time. I feel like
Mm,
there's always, I think, one message that's being promoted over the other, regardless of what side it's on. Oh, keep your good government job, go the safe route, or like, oh no, lean into your passion. Totally, that's what you should do. Throw caution to the wind. And I felt like I needed to just quiet all the noise and figure out what I really wanted to do.
yeah.
For me, I didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to quote unquote pick a lane because I am very kind of multi-passionate in my thinking, in my being, in my doing. I like different things. I mean, I have a very kind of technical side. I like a 9 to 5. Part of me also felt like if I just followed a creative field for myself, not saying for other people, I didn't wanna feel like I had to take a job because I needed the money
Yep.
and kind of
Yeah.
compromise my creative vision and start taking on projects that I didn't really love or want to do because I needed to, have a paycheck.
Yeah.
For me, having both the 9 to 5 and my creative outlets allows me the freedom, which is like one of my core values,
Yeah.
really do what I want to do and do it in the way that I want to do it. I think that it's hard to kind of push out the noise and what other people want you to do if you're not secure in your knowledge of what you want for yourself. And for me, that was a bit of a journey in really being honest with myself about what type of life I wanted to live and who I felt like I was at my core.
Yeah, I love that what you're talking about. And personally, I can relate to it very much on a personal level. A few years ago, I was a VP and I started coaching on the side and I felt the pull and the tension and I was just like, I feel more energized with coaching, but I love this night like the salary, but I ended up making the switch to coaching. And looking back now, I work with clients who go through kind of similar dilemmas and I find that it's like it's black and white thinking almost. It's like one or the other. Either you're fully in this or you're fully in that. And we sometimes miss the gray line, the messy middle of how can you honor both at the same time.
Yes, I often talk about it in terms of embracing the both and it's interesting when you mention kind of the workplace. One of the things that I found really helpful for me is finding ways to bring in that creative aspect into my 9 to 5 world.
Yeah.
It could be something as easy as, I worked in a very government setting, very brown and white walls,
Yep. Yep.
had a lot of splashes of color and interest there. And, we had, as most organizations do, like very set template that you had to use when you gave presentations. And I started thinking, do we have to use that? Or is that
Yeah.
what people think you have to do?
Yep.
And like, you know what? Let me just bring myself into this. If it's an internal presentation, let me design it in Canva, bring in color, different icons, and that was accepted, and then that started being something that I was kind of known for, and people loved that because it brought some energy and personality to those presentations. I became interested in coaching as well when I was in my job. It wasn't part of
Yeah.
my role, but I said, "This is something that I'm passionate about. It's a need that I see in the organization," and I pitched a strengths-based initiative that was accepted, and we started incorporating that into the work. If you're assertive and if you know what you want to do, to test the waters, and then all you can receive is a no, but you have to, I think, at least try to feel like you're creating a space and a role that really feels like you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if you can tell us, because you're referring to your 9 to 5 and then the creative outlet. Can you tell us a little bit more about what does your 9 to 5 look like? As much as you can, I know that it is in government. Yeah.
That's all I will say for now. Of course, as I'm speaking here,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
an individual, not as part of my government
Yes,
role.
yes.
I will say I started out as a behavioral scientist.
Okay.
It was all about kind of implementing programs for communities and finding ways to bring the science into that, right? Science into practice. And now I do more strategic advising roles. So I'm a senior advisor for strategic planning. So helping the organization determine how best to get to where we want to go, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And one of
absolutely.
the things that I really love and am passionate about is that I do work around employee engagement there because what I really want is for people to show up to work and enjoy being there and to love what they do. When I was younger, I remember my mom telling me, nobody loves their job, Kimberly. Nobody
Yep.
likes their job. And I'm like, that's not true. I never wanted to wake up on Monday morning and dread going to work.
Mhm.
And I don't want other people to feel that way too. And I think that sometimes we show up at work and we feel like we're stuck. We feel like we just have to do what we're told to do, what our job description is. And
Yeah.
there are ways I think that you can help to make your role more flexible and to feel more comfortable and more like yourself at work and to absolutely enjoy showing up there and feel like you're meaningfully contributing to your workplace too.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's so interesting. It sounds like much of your vision was carved out when you were younger, like listening to your mother too. And I had a similar experience with hearing from my father, very blue collar, coming home, like venting about work. And I'm just like, it shouldn't be this way. Like, people should be able to honor their passions and show up with joy. And it's very interesting, the through line. It sounds very similar of the conversations with your mother.
Yes, yes, and definitely got it from my dad as well. He was in the Marine Corps, so the military
Oh,
when I was
yeah, yeah.
younger, and then he got a government job and very much was about, "No, you keep your good government job." Like, that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also, like, the times have changed. I think historically that was, how a lot of people viewed workplaces, and then with our generation now is very much like, "What's your passion? What are your strengths?" Yeah,
Exactly. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
I'm curious, your journey with creativity, did you always have a creative path growing up, or was that something that developed more as you got older?
I always had this creative path. I was always book smart, but then always loved dabbling in creativity. So when I was younger, I would draw, do Legos, coloring, cross stitch, and then even in grad school, I would do these like dry brush paint note cards with stencil. I loved. I kind of want to get back to that as well. And we would have crafting parties sometimes with my friends as we're, like, working on our dissertations, like, "Let's stop and have a crafting break." And then after in my postdoc, I think is when I started to really start to think about whether the academic path was what I wanted to pursue or if I wanted to be more serious about kind of a creative endeavor. So when I was doing my postdoc, I kinda got jaded at a certain point about publishing for publishing's sake, and it was like, I don't know that that was my path at the time. I was like, I don't think I wanted to do that, and so I started designing jewelry. I started taking courses in interior design at the Fashion Institute of Technology and in fashion merchandising, and I was kind of trying to figure out, do I wanna be a buyer? Do I want to design jewelry? Do I want to be an interior designer? And I loved it. So after the postdoc, I was teaching and then also taking classes and also doing kind of these creative things. And it's always been that way. And then after that, I had photography alongside my 9 to 5. And now I'm doing coaching, which I think also has like a lot of creativity embedded in it, even though a lot of people might not see it instinctively as a creative kind of path. And so it's kind of always followed me my entire life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Do you still do fashion merchandising or things related to fashion? It sounds like that was like a real coming out of, grad school, that was kind of a real thing for you.
It was a thing at the time. It's not something I pursued. It's ending though because I at one point so this was like during my postdoc, I was seriously considering it. I was living in New York, and so New York is like the
Yep,
fashion capital,
yep,
right?
yep.
So you're kind of surrounded by fashion and inspired by it. And I remember I was thinking, okay, if I want to be a buyer, I need to have retail experience. I never worked in
Mm,
retail. I worked at a lot of fast food restaurants when I was in, high school, et cetera, but never retail. And I told a mentor that at my postdoc, and she was like, Kimberly, people with PhDs don't work movies. And I was like, wow. But then I thought about it, I was like, maybe that doesn't make sense. Like, that does seem a little strange.
yeah, yeah.
And so I ended up straying away, and I don't think it was something that was genuinely me. Like,
Mm,
I like to dress cute, but I don't think
mhm.
fashion is my thing. Like, I don't buy all the fashion magazines. I don't follow the season.
Yeah,
But I think that at the time it was me exploring what does creativity look like for me right now at that time
yeah,
of my
yeah.
life. And I think that that's what it should be about, right? Just exploring, trying different things on, like, not no pun intended there. Trying different
Yeah,
things on, like, just dabbling, exploring, see what you enjoy doing, and it doesn't have to be, "What do I enjoy doing?" That could then be my next career, but,
yep,
like, what do I just enjoy doing? And
yeah,
enjoyed taking those classes. I enjoyed especially when I was doing interior design, loved, loved, loved drafting, but then was like, "I don't know how creative I am in terms of styling a room," but I loved pursuing that. I just loved learning about those things.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like that is a experience for a lot of people these days of just finding something to do for joy. It's always usually now based on an outcome and how can I use this and capitalize on this in some way. And I'm curious if you work with clients who go through that journey where they kind of forget the joy and are looking to find that creativity again.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely work with those clients and with clients who have that kind of artistic background, have the art that maybe they want to monetize and have, but then
Mhm.
with how can I stay true to my vision versus design things that other people want to buy?
Yeah.
And that I think is what steals some of the joy, like not believing that there is an audience for everyone, right? Like
Yeah.
regardless of what you create, there's somebody who's going to love it and probably more than one someone. And feeling like, okay, well, this is what's popular. This is what's on Instagram. Everyone seems to be, pressing the like button and the heart and feeling like I need to figure out how to morph my thing into that thing. That's where the joy starts kind of seeping away when we feel like we can't when we don't have, like, an audience that will appreciate and enjoy just what we naturally love to create.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It can be lonely too, what I find, especially one of the things that you mentioned, because you do have these multiple paths of photographer, coach, leader, mom. It can feel because you don't fit into just one box, it can be lonely because of that. You're like carving paths in all of these different directions.
And it is hard. I think it's important to try to find community and to figure out what type of community is important for you in that season, right? So for me, I have all these different identities, all these different roles and passions, but they're not all equally spread apart at all times of my life, right? There are some times when mom is what's most salient for me, right? Like, okay, no, the photography is what's really important in this season or, whatever. And I think what's challenging is feeling like everything needs to have equal weight at all times.
Yes,
I
yeah.
don't think that's possible. It wasn't possible for me. I don't think it's possible for most people.
No.
It's accepting that
Yeah,
and recognizing that and not trying to force equal weight and attention to everything at all times and feeling guilty if like, "Oh my goodness, my coaching business isn't thriving right now, and it should be, but I'm also attending all these, sports activities for my kids and trying to make sure that they're happy and fulfilled,
yeah.
have a relationship, and I'm trying to do this creative thing." It's like, okay, there not everything can can happen all at once.
No, no, you're preaching to the choir right now. I have my son is just turned 7 months as we're filming this, and that was me. It was like I came out at the beginning of the year and I was like, "Oh, I have all these dreams for my coaching practice," and it's like, "No, I have a newborn at home, that's not happening." And acceptance, which can be hard when you have a vision and just goals for things of just being like, "Not right now. Not right now."
And trust, right? Trust
Yeah.
not right now doesn't mean not ever, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
mean like in another year, another 7 months, whatever, sometime down the line, if it's a passion that you have, if it was something that's meant for you, it will still happen.
Yeah.
Trusting and believing that that's actually true.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I love what you mentioned too about the seasons of creativity, because it is seasons of life and things will there's an ebb and flow and a fluidity and not distinct buckets or percentages that these things are showing up in your life.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. You talk a little bit in your work about alignment over exhaustion. And so I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit about what does that mean to you? How does it show up for you in your own life as someone who wears so many diverse roles and hats?
Yes, I think alignment for me is really asking about whether that thing, whatever it is I'm trying to choose between, is in harmony with my values, for one, and then my energy. And then deciding whether if it's a yes, right? Maybe it's something that I'll consider and pursue, not doing things out of obligation. So for me, that's what alignment is really about. And it took some time. I used to feel the need to say yes to every opportunity that came along and also the need to respond immediately. Like, "Oh my goodness, they asked me something, I need to tell them right now whether I can do it." And sometimes I knew that I had other things going on, but I felt like the opportunity wasn't going to still be there if I said, "Hey, I need to think about it for a little while."
Mm,
But I also didn't want to offend the person, right? Especially if it's
yeah.
somebody that I respected or wanted to build or, strengthen a relationship with. I'm like, "Oh, I can't say no to that person. Let me go ahead and say yes." And then sometimes it would be like, "Oh, I should not have said yes." and saying, okay, what are my values? I value like a lot of things like freedom, creativity, sustainability, wholeness, excellence. Can I do this with excellence if I have these other things on my plate? If I can't, maybe I'm not going to say yes. Is there a creative aspect, or am I going to be dictated to like do this thing in this way? I probably won't enjoy that. Maybe I should pass it along to somebody else who would enjoy that type of opportunity. Right? And so it's really about taking a breath, knowing that, asking for 24, 48 hours to consider something before giving a response isn't unreasonable. And okay, I can't, in good faith give you an answer right now. So unfortunately it'll have to be a no for now. But
Yeah, yeah.
it might be a yes.
It is a learned skill because I went on that journey myself personally where it's like the people pleaser, the wanting to perform and have show an impact and have an impact on things, and you say yes, and I would always have this, like, gut feeling immediately after, be like, "Oh, I don't wanna do it. I shouldn't have said yes."
Right.
And then, like, learning from that wisdom over time and creating habits and rituals for myself to tune in and listen to the body rather than kind of overriding it over time.
Right, to have a community, one, somebody that can help you to not
Yeah.
too many things. And
Yes.
also I think a community of folks who are, I hate saying like-minded, I think that's kind of an overused phrase, but like-minded folks,
Yeah.
or people who also do similar things that you do, where you can have a bank of folks that you can refer for
Mhm.
opportunities that aren't the best fit for you or the best time for you. So you're still honoring the relationship you have with whoever's doing the ask, right? Maybe
Yeah.
ask, if you can't do it, here's somebody else I trust who can do it just as well as I can. Maybe in a similar way, maybe in a completely different way, but that can meet your need. And then you're still seen as a valuable resource to that person. And they might come back to you again because they appreciate that you didn't just leave them hanging and say, no, I can't do it, but
Yep.
I can't do it, but here's somebody who can. And so I think
Yeah.
it's important to just kind of keep a community around you as well.
I agree, yeah, and I love what you said too about your coming back to the values when making that decision and excellence being a value, and can I show up with excellence in this environment, in this project, and if you can't, then that's okay. You don't have to, like, try and push through and pretend like you can.
Right, exactly. Because I think that you want your values to always be front and center, and
Mhm.
you don't want your reputation to be damaged because you went against your values when you knew that you shouldn't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a little bit about values alignment and some of your work and creativity. I'm wondering if we can chat a little bit about your role as mom and how that shows up for you with amongst everything.
It's interesting. I think that motherhood changed me a bit. As you can probably tell, I'm a little bit type A, bit of a high achiever.
Mm,
And it was challenging to still be that person and be a mom and feel like I also want to be like the best mom, right?
mm,
And I became a mother, I'm not sure if you know this, later in life. And so I had my first child shortly before my 41st birthday and my second child a few years after that. So I'm 50 with a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, which is so interesting because sometimes my son's friends especially like, "Your grandma's here." I'm like, "No, I'm not.
Oh no.
I'm his mom. Mom is mom."
Yeah. What?
But it's helped me to kind of slow down and be more patient with myself. Of course, you wanna exercise patience with your kids, but recognizing that I can't do everything at once because I absolutely still wanna have, goals that I'm reaching. I have, like, my business goals. I wanna still do all my creative thing, and then but you don't wanna feel like, "Oh, my kids are getting in the way of my life," right? And
Mhm.
so I had to kind of adjust, well, what can I achieve in this season while my kids are young? Like, maybe I'm going to be able to reach the same heights that I could have if I, did not have children. But would I trade that? No, I wouldn't. It's interesting too because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and my kids, especially my daughter, like, she helps me with that. So she'll tell me like, "Mommy, not everything has to be perfect." And even when I'm doing her hair, and I'm like, "I can't seem to part her hair straight to save my life." And she's like, "That's okay, mommy. I'm sure it's still cute."
Aw.
And so it's really helped me to be more grounded, be more patient with myself, with other people. and just to slow down and realize that there's not like a race to the finish line, that time, even though it often I think feels like time is not on our side, there's more time than we, I think, imagine that we have. And
Yeah.
in trying to race through it, I felt like I was often kind of missing the experience, right? Like, I just wanna sit in the experience of these various activities and joys that I'm doing and not just kind of rush through them to get to the outcome. Motherhood has done that for me. It's caused me to really slow down and appreciate, just kind of the flavor of life and what's in front of me. So it's been an interesting journey for sure.
Yeah, I love that shift that you're talking about. I can't believe that your son's friends told you a grandmother. It's like, one, you don't even like, what are you talking
And that's
about?
I know, I'm thinking, I'm like, "Okay, I have, like, a few gray hairs because I don't color my hair or anything." I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like I'm, kind of chic and youthful in my
You
appearance."
are, yeah.
Kids, you know?
Yeah.
They'll humble you in a minute.
They will, they absolutely will. It's so funny, I talk to my husband about, like, we're in our mid to late 30s right now with our 7-month-old, and I talk about, like, "Oh my gosh, did we mess up with not having kids when we were in our late 20s? Because our energy levels, I can't imagine, like, it's just physically demanding, especially the first few months of their life, and I'm sure it'll shift too as he gets older as well, but yeah.
Yeah. It's a different kind of energy. I'm like, I won't lie to you. It's just a
Yeah.
different type of energy drain as they get
Yes.
older.
Yes. I love what you're talking about slowing down and getting intentional and being in the moments and being present. I find that children have a way of bringing you into the present and noticing just this there's everything is for the first time usually, and there's so much novelty and ways that they look at the world that causes you to shift and look at the world differently as well. So,
Exactly, exactly. And it's interesting when you were mentioning that, for me too, what I'm finding myself having to do now, especially when you think about social media and how we wanna document everything and document everything
yeah.
children do, and sometimes it's like documenting just so you can remember it, and I find that, I mean, I do love when Apple kind of gives you those memory montages. I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about that." And then sometimes it's like, "Oh, let me just document to post," right?
Mm.
And I find, like, lately I've been trying to not have my phone documenting everything that my kids are doing because I'm missing
Yeah.
being in it with them, and I feel like they don't even feel like I'm fully present when I'm trying to capture, the moment, even though it's like I'm trying to be present and also, like, savor this memory. It's like you can capture things and hold them in your mind, I think, in such a different, more rich way than you can through your phone, and so it's
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn to do a little more now. Yeah, it's just this shift of motherhood, and you're wondering, "What is it that I wanna remember?"
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's taking me to for me, I get that a lot when I'm, like, at night when I'm rocking my son to sleep, I'll, like, look down and he's looking up at me and I'm like, "I am gonna remember this," like, when he is 6 or 10 or whatever it might be. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We've talked a little bit about your own journey. I'm wondering if you can tell us about your coaching practice and how you're currently supporting folks with who may be multi-passionate.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, exactly that, like, supporting folks who want to figure out, I think, primarily how to hold on to their passions, what they actually love doing while they have this other role. Usually, it's like a 9 to 5 job that doesn't always feel as fulfilling as it could be, and not necessarily feeling like you have to leave that job to pursue the creative passion, although you can, that might be the choice that you want to make. But are there ways that you can explore how to kind of make your job more of what you want it to be, right? And sometimes we feel like there are no options to do that because we haven't tried it or we're afraid to try that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just about, how can I honor more of myself at home in my personal life? especially if you are a parent, typically a mom, because I mostly work with women, although I also do also work with men.
Yeah.
But, like, how can I honor my passions and feel like I'm not being selfish? Because I think that a lot of
Mhm.
times, especially when we're parents, we feel like it's selfish to follow our own dreams when we should just be supporting our kids. Like, our time is over, now it's all about them, and then once they're 18 and out the house, then I can focus back on myself. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that way, but it's
Mhm.
around, again, those seasons, and how can I design more of a life that honors my passions? And, I have a what I call a thread framework that I kind of guide clients to through. So, like, trusting that your passions have value, right? Because a lot of times we feel like, okay, this little thing doesn't matter as much as this, more official role. But, like, no, trust that all of your passions have value. The ages like harmonize. So, like, finding a way to integrate those passions instead of compartmentalizing them, right? Because some people think that, oh, if you have these multiple passions, then you're scattered. It's like, no, reclaim them. Embracing seasons, like the embrace these different seasons that you're going through. And sometimes knowing that one role might step forward in one season and in another season it has to retreat a little bit.
Yeah.
A, aligning your values, right? What we talked about a little bit. And then D, like taking all that together and then designing a life that you want to live. And not just a life that you want to live, I would say like a life that's sustainable because you decide like, oh, I'm gonna do all these things, but how long can you do all those things? Like, can you keep it up and feel like you're not burning out and feel like you still have time just for the other kind of mental health things that you need to do? That you still need to survive and thrive as just a human being. And so that's kind of how I work with clients who are multi-passionate and in my coaching practice.
Yeah, I love that framework that you're talking about. It's funny what you said about designing a life that's sustainable. I had a mentor once tell me because I hit this point a few years ago. I was talking about wanting to be a mom and then balancing career, and she told me she was like, "Roberta, you can have it all, but not at the same time." Like one of the favorite Oprah quotes, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that's so true."
It is so
I never
true.
thought about it. And it seems very front and center in your model when you're talking about sustainability and all of your passions, so
Exactly.
I love that. I'm glad that we had a chance to talk. I feel like I'm raising my hand. It's like I'm probably your ideal client. So we might have a conversation after this. Yeah. How can folks keep in touch with you if they want to get a hold of you? Yeah, learn more about you and your practices.
Yes. Well, one, I have a podcast called Simultaneity. I also have an upcoming TEDx talk that I'll be giving in October at TEDx Georgia College. So I would love for folks to tune in there because it's all about kind of what we were talking about today, which is giving yourself permission to grow beyond who you plan to be, right?
Mm.
By embracing all of your passions and identities and interests and roles, even if they don't make sense to other people. And then on LinkedIn, you can follow me and connect with me at Dr. Kimberly Murray, DrKimberlyMurray. On Instagram, Dr. Kimberly Murray, KimberlyMurray.com. But I just go by Kimberly. But that's how everyone can connect with me and stay in touch.
Amazing, amazing, and we'll make sure to include all of those, socials in the show notes so folks have them, but it has been so lovely to learn a bit more about your journey and your path, and yeah, thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks, Roberta.
Thanks for being here. If something in this episode landed with you, feel free to pass it along to someone who might need it too. You can leave a review, subscribe, or just keep tuning in. We're figuring it out together. And remember, your story, your voice, your becoming, it all matters.